I'm Darius McDermott from Fund Calibre. Today's discussion is on 5 ways to get income from your investments for your ISA. When we invest, we do so with the aim of seeing our savings grow over the long term. We will use them to finance a wedding, pay off a mortgage, or live comfortably in retirement. Any one of life's goals. Sometimes we'll also want to take an income from our investments, maybe to supplement bills or to supplement retirement income. But which investments pay an income? Firstly, we have cash. Cash savings accounts pay an income in a form of an interest rate. These generally fall into 2 types of category: easy access or fixed term savings. Easy access accounts tend to have lower interest rates, while fixed term accounts usually pay a higher rate, with the quid pro quo being that you cannot touch your savings for that period of time. In the early noughties, cash accounts on interest rates were very attractive and at some stages were as high as 10% at their peak. However, since the global financial crisis, interest rates have fallen substantially and rates that cash pay have fallen as well. The benefit of investing in cash is that your capital is guaranteed. However, after inflation, your returns may be eroded over time. The next thing we can invest in are bonds. Bonds are basically loans issued by governments or companies. Investors will lend an issuer an amount of money for a fixed period of time and be paid a regular income called a yield at the end of that period. At the end of that period, capital will be returned to you. It is important to remember that yields can go up and down, and unlike cash, your capital is not guaranteed. Company or corporate bonds, as they are called, tend to come in 2 categories: investment grade and high yield. Investment grade bonds are deemed to be from better quality and less risky companies than high yield bonds. Government issue government bonds. In the UK they are referred to as gilts, and in the US they are referred to treasuries. Government bonds of developed markets are usually deemed less risky than government bonds from emerging markets. The more risky a bond is deemed to be, generally the higher rate of yield you can expect. The most common way of investing in bonds is via a fund, which pools your money together with other people's and invests it in lots of different types of bonds. You can also invest directly in a few bonds, but they are fairly limited. Another way of obtaining an income is from a company dividend. Dividends are a way for companies to distribute some of their profits to shareholders in the form of an income payment. UK companies have a very strong dividend paying history, but companies in other countries are starting to understand the importance and value of returning some of their profits to shareholders, and we are seeing more and more companies across the globe starting to pay dividends. You can invest in company shares directly, but if you want to invest in lots of company, the more common route would be to invest in an equity income fund. The 4th type of investment you might make is into property. Property rentals are when a landlord is paid rent. This is also a form of income payment. Now, we're not all lucky enough to be landlords. Indeed, very many people do not own their own home, let alone a second one. It is estimated that by 2021, a quarter of all UK households will live in rented accommodation. So getting an income from a property is unlikely unless you invest in a fund that invests in property for you. There are a number of different types of property fund. Those that invest in commercial property, like offices, buildings, warehouses, and hotels. There are those that invest in residential property, the big institutional landlords so many of us rent from, and those that invest in the shares of companies that invest in property themselves, like maintenance companies or self-storage companies like the Big Yellow Group. Another type of income we can get is from investing in infrastructure. Every time we use the Dartford Tunnel or the Severn Bridge, we pay a toll. This toll payment is an example of income earned from infrastructure. Infrastructure is all around us: airports, railways, roads, hospitals, schools, solar energy plants, wind farms, etc. But obviously we are unlikely to have enough money to own our own Heathrow. So again, if you want to get income from infrastructure, most popular way to do that is via a pooled fund, and that's the way that most investors tend to use it. Don't know which one to choose? Well, the answers for some investors could be a multi-asset income fund. This can offer all of the different asset classes we've discussed in one fund. As the name implies, they contain different investments from equities, bonds, infrastructure and other yielding asset classes. The fund manager decides what the appropriate portion is for each type of asset and changes the amount over time in response to changing market conditions. To learn more on types of funds that invest for income, please visit fundcaliber.com.